I'm Elle Osili-Wood. I'm a video game presenter and voice actor. So being a presenter means wearing lots of different hats. So obviously the first part is being on screen.
They'll all run out and you have to shoot them all. And I was like, thank you for telling me that.
Now, if you know me, I'm a big Marvel nerd.
Here's how you can get your hands on a very special prize, and this is the Only on PlayStation collection.
I also do lots of kind of live stage work, so I host esports events. It's been a massive year, and frankly, I can't wait to get started. In general, in the games industry, to be a presenter, you also need to be able to write, you also need to be able to shoot, you also need to be able to edit. I'm part of PlayStation Access, which is the YouTube channel of PlayStation UK, and for that, I have to do all of those things.
And of course, if we're starting with League of Legends, then we need our legendary casters.
I often get asked kind of what's my proudest moment. I think when you're on screen, people, think that there'll be one thing that was kind of the pinnacle for you. And it's obviously joining PlayStation was huge for me. It's the console that literally got me into gaming. But for me, just my journey is what I'm most proud of. I'm somebody who, as a child, was incredibly shy. I'm still somebody who's very anxious in social situations. I think just looking at the journey that I've taken, I'm just really proud of the body of work that I've amassed. Well, hello again. I have to say, January 2020 feels like such a long time ago. In particular, for me, because I left my job at PlayStation Access shortly after we filmed the last video and decided to go freelance. And the week I did that, the world shut down. So I immediately thought I'd made a terrible mistake, really panicked about it. And it actually turned out to be probably the best year of my career so far. So, gosh, there's lots to tell you. So I've started hosting Front Row, which is Radio 4's flagship art show. Absolutely adore that. It's just one of my favorite things to do. I get to turn up, read great books, watch great films, go to incredible exhibitions, write my own scripts, and then jump in the studio and host a live show, which is one of my favorite things to do. So absolutely love that. And I'm a big Radio 4 nerd, so amazing to hear my voice on there. Since we last spoke, I've also taken over as the host of the BAFTA Games Awards, which equally amazing. You never in a million years, I think, imagine yourself hosting a BAFTA award ceremony, especially taking over from a 10-time host like Dara O'Brien. So that was a little bit intimidating, but also an incredible experience. And I got to have loads of input into it. I think, I know I'm the one saying it, but I think we put together a really fantastic ceremony and had really wonderful feedback about how great it had been to celebrate games in a year where they'd meant so much to people. So I was incredibly honoured to be asked and had a wonderful time doing it. So that's some quite big news. And then I've also made 2 documentaries for the BBC in the last year. So one is on BBC Sounds and it's called The Positive Power of Gaming on Your Mind. And I got to explore the science behind video games. So I got to talk to neuroscientists, I got to talk to psychologists who are specializing in the study of video games. I got to speak to the company that's behind the very first video game that has been officially licensed as medicine in the US, which was just fascinating and let me dive into games in a way we don't often get to see in the mainstream media. So I loved doing that. It was a really meaty project and I loved getting my teeth into it. And then I also made a documentary earlier this year, which was with Little Dot Studios, who make Inside Film and Inside Games. And last year I made a short episode for their Inside Games series where I explored Afro hair in games, which is a subject I'm really passionate about. And so I got to look at why hair texture in games is actually a giveaway to just how well they're going to represent diverse characters and how much effort they're going to put in to make them feel authentic. And then I was invited back to write a feature-length documentary episode where we explored behind the scenes of how you make characters so compelling in video games and a look back through the history of characters that have been really culturally significant. So again, another documentary that looks at games in a way we don't often see in mainstream media. And it was just wonderful. I co-wrote it with Michael Leader and he is just a brilliant brain. I love bouncing ideas back and forth with him. So it was wonderful to just celebrate how significant games can be to all of us and the characters that we've loved and played alongside throughout our entire lives. So I absolutely loved working on that. Still on BBC iPlayer. Do go and check it out. It's called Special Characters. Please let them know if you love it because we'd love to make more content like that. And then I've just made lots of really fun different bits and pieces, actually, both inside games and outside games. So I learnt to be a Viking, axe throwing and all, for Ubisoft. I travelled around the UK on a big Pokemon bus for the release of Pokemon Sword and Shield, which is obviously set in a UK-inspired setting. And then I've done other things like interview some of the world's best footballers for Adidas about what makes them so great. That was really enjoyable for me because I'm a big football fan, so I got to dive into it and interview people like Michael Rosen, Bernardine Evaristo, Nile Rodgers, Hideo Kojima. Sat down and done some really big deep dive feature interviews, which is something I love doing, really enjoy delving into people's minds. So it's been a busy year, but it's been a really exciting one and way better than I thought it was going to be right at the start.